Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. As you can see, I am back home. We've been home. This is day 3 at home. Got home on Thursday evening. This is Sunday morning. If you're here for the knitting and occasional crochet content, you're not going to get that in this video, I'm afraid. Today I have a video which is sharing some of the stuff we did in the last week, 10 days of our holiday. We were in Villajoyosa on the Costa Blanca near Alicante, between Alicante and Benidorm. We were closer to Benidorm than Alicante. We were there for 2.5 weeks, and my podcast, not last week there wasn't a podcast, but the week before, I shared a few of the things we did in our first week on holiday. We didn't do a lot in the first week apart from go to the beach, to be quite honest, and then in the second half of the holiday we did a lot more. And I filmed quite a bit, so that's what I'm going to share today, because I didn't do a podcast last week. If I was going to film a podcast last week, it would have been on our last day, and even though last day was a little bit of a not great because the weather wasn't great. It was sunny, but it was very, very windy. So we went to the beach, but we were only there for a couple of hours. So I had time to do it. I just didn't really have the inclination to do it. There were some other things going on with my parents in Norway, with my dad, particularly in Norway at the time as well last week. So there was a lot of stuff going on, and I was a little bit stressed out, I think, about that, and also getting ready to go home again. If I look a bit hot, it's because I've just gotten showered and dressed and blow dried my hair after finishing my workout. Trying to get back into it after a 3-week break, and my office is really hot. I've opened the window, so if you can hear a bit of bird song, that's because my window is open, and we do have some birds nesting in the roof above my office, and we get a lot of birds in our garden. Anyway, if you're new here, my name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns. I teach knitting workshops online and in person, and I sell yarn through my website YarnAddict.co.uk. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. And normally I post videos about knitting, occasional crochet, tutorials, podcasts, product reviews, yarn reviews, talk about my patterns, all that kind of stuff. But today I'm just going to share some of the stuff we did in the last half of our holiday, because we had a few days out. And if I was going to include that in this week's podcast, it would just make it way too long, because I have lots of knitting to share, a bit of crochet to share, I have some new yarn to share, so there's just going to be too much. So I thought I would just record a separate episode and release it as a Tuesday video. So if you enjoy following along with my travels, then you might enjoy this video. And if you don't, and you don't want to watch this, then I quite understand, because it's not my normal content that I put out. Okay, so let's start where we finished off a week and a half ago, which is when I last recorded. The day after I recorded the last video, we went to Alicante. We've been to Alicante loads of times before, because my parents owned a flat on the Orihuela Costa, just south of Torrevieja, which is about an hour south of Alicante. So we've had holidays there for like 20 years, and we always used to have at least 1 or 2 evening trips into Alicante. And then last year in May, we actually stayed in Alicante for 2 weeks, so we explored Alicante a lot. And the reason I wanted to come back this year and stay towards the end of June is because in Alicante in June, usually from I think around the 18th to 24th, there is the I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Hogueras de San Juan Festival, San Juan, St. John. It's a big thing in Alicante. It's a week of festivities. There are apparently fireworks at 8 o'clock in the morning from the castle. Every day at 2 o'clock there was something called mascletas, which we'll come to in a minute, in one of the main squares in the city. And there was also, they build these big sculptures, which you'll see in a minute, made of papier-mâché. And I mean, they look amazing. They are huge and they're painted in vibrant colours and they're absolutely stunning. And we walked around the city to take in as many of those as we could find. It was quite hot because we got there in the morning, so it got warmer and warmer as the morning went on. And we walked around and filmed some of those. We saw those when we were there 2 years ago. And on the 23rd, I think, at midnight, they burned them. I assume they do it on the beach. I really wanted to witness that. That was part of the reason why we stayed for as long as we did. But what I didn't realise was that they did it at midnight. I thought they would do it in the evening. And I also didn't realise that we could not get the tram back to Villa where we're staying that late in the evening. So, and we didn't have a hire car, so we didn't manage to witness that. So that was a shame. And then they also have some sort of parades and things, and parades wearing like traditional costumes. I think maybe they parade some of these sculptures around the street. I'm not sure. If you've been in Alicante for San Juan, let me know what it's like, and I will hopefully one year we will get to actually stay in Alicante for San Juan. So if we go to Alicante or that region in June in the future, we will actually stay in Alicante. The problem was last year we to keep the cost reasonable, we weren't that close to the beach and we had to use like bus to the tram, 2 trams to get to the beach. We could walk, but walking a lot in the city just leaves me in a huge amount of pain. And trying to find somewhere closer to the beach got very expensive, and it was actually cheaper to stay in Villa in the old town, where we were just a 3-minute walk from the beach. And because it was June and we knew it was going to likely to be hot, we knew it was going to be more of a beach holiday. Last year we were there in May and it wasn't actually that hot, so we didn't go to the beach that many times. After we'd walked around the city and looked at all the sculptures, we went and did a little bit of shopping, and then we headed to the Plaza Lutheros. Lutheros, may not pronounce that correctly, but main square in the middle of the city is where the main tram station is as well. And we walked through there earlier in the morning, and it was busy, but not too bad. But they've sectioned off, it's basically a big roundabout with a park area and a sculpture in the middle. And they'd sectioned all that off with tall fences. So we walked around the outside of that, and it was busy, but not packed. And we went down to the shopping street, which is a couple of streets further away, and did a bit of shopping. Then we came back and we were coming in from one direction. We were trying to walk half around, like a quarter of the roundabout, and then down another street, which I knew was wider and had like a green area going down the center of it. So we were trying to get to there, and the crowds were just unbelievable. It was so packed. We were literally just like barging through because it was the only way to get through. And there was like a file of us going through in one direction and a file coming the other way. And then we walked past this pub, and there were people coming out with big pint glasses of beer and other stuff. And I was thinking, I'm going to get this tipped all over me in a minute. And I get a little bit claustrophobic. I don't like crowds like that. And it was really, I mean, you were just jammed in. It was not pleasant. And it was really, really hot because it was nearly 2 o'clock by this point, but 1:30, I guess. So it was very, very hot. And it got to a point where I was like, I can't stand here because now we're right in the middle of this huge crowd. So we have to get past this next corner. And it got to a point where basically just like you just barged your way through. And yeah, it was, I mean, everyone else who wanted to move through were doing the same thing. And it was just really unpleasant. And the mascletas, again, my Spanish pronunciation is not perfect. I am learning Spanish, but I'm still working on it. It's kind of like fireworks, except it's all about the bangs. It's very, very loud bangs, as you will hear. And there isn't a lot of flashes of light. There are some, you can see a bit of sparkle. There's a couple of palm trees blocking part of our view, but it's all about the sound really, rather than the actual fireworks, you know, the flashes of light and the sparkly bit and all that kind of stuff. It's, from what I understand, it's more about the sound. And it's incredibly loud, quite a lot of smoke. Where we eventually ended up, there was a bit of grass. So to start with, we sat on the grass, and then it got busier and busier, so we stood up. And even there we were packed in, but nowhere near like where we'd walked through. So we watched it. It lasted about 10 minutes, I guess. My understanding was that it was a display every day at 2 o'clock, and that it was a competition. And then I guess on the weekend they had the finals, I guess. We were there on a Thursday, and I was really surprised, considering the fact that it was the middle of the week, how busy it was. I guess people working, it would be their lunch breaks. There's lots of apartment buildings all around the square, and most of the balconies were full of people watching it. So I think if we want to do that again, the key is to try and rent an Airbnb around the square, which is probably really expensive because I think those are quite expensive apartments. So I'm going to leave you to watch the mascletas. It is very loud. If you don't like loud bangs, maybe turn your sound down a bit, because it is very, very loud. But the people around us, especially towards the end, were really cheering and getting into it. So I guess it's something that the Spanish enjoy. Let me know in the comments if you've ever watched this kind of display and what you think of it. This is my first experience of it. I watched a lady who lives in Benidorm, who does videos about the Costa Blanca region, and she filmed from one of these displays in Benidorm once. So I kind of knew what to expect, but yeah, it was interesting. Kind of think I prefer fireworks because it's less noisy, but if you don't like loud bangs, I would stay away from a city centre or anywhere where they have this display going on. north of Benidorm, there's a really pretty hilltop town called Altea. We've been there before a few times. You can get the tram from Alicante. It runs all the way along the coast of Benidorm. Takes about an hour, I think. And then at Benidorm, you can change for the tram to Denia. The tram from Alicante to Benidorm runs every half an hour. And we were about 4 stops, I think, 5 stops from Benidorm. So for us, it wasn't more than like 10-15 minutes on the train, maybe. And then we changed the train for Denia, and Altea is 3-4 stops maybe on that route, so it's not very far from Benidorm. Be careful about which train you choose if you're coming from the Alicante region, Alicante area, or anywhere along between Alicante and Benidorm, because the train to Denia only runs every hour. So if you get there, you may be lucky and just walk straight across the platform and onto the Denia train, or you may end up waiting for half an hour or longer till the Denia train arrives. So just be aware of that if you're using public transport. But you can also, obviously, if you're hiring a car, you can drive there. But there's a bit by the seafront where they have loads of restaurants. There's a beach there. The beach is quite rocky, loads of small rocks on the beach, so it's not like a sandy beach. And you can see all the way around to Albir, around to Calpe, I think. I haven't been to Calpe, only been to Altea on that coast, and you can kind of see Benidorm in the distance, but you probably can't see it on the videos. But it is Altea is a beautiful area. The train stops down the bottom, and then you walk up through the town. It is quite steep, and there were some roadworks that dug up several roads going up the hill, so it was a bit tricky to choose the right way up. When you get to the top of the hill, there is a big square with several restaurants, a really pretty church, some viewpoints where you can take photos and videos of the Mediterranean Sea, and you can see all the way around from Benidorm around to Calpe, and it is really, really pretty. And then there's a couple of streets like kind of at the back of that square where they have a lot of shops, very cute shops and things like that. We didn't go any further. We walked down one of those streets and looked at some of the shops. We didn't go any further than that, and I've never gone any further kind of inland than that, so I don't know what else there is. And then we walked back down again, and it's really pretty. We were only there for a couple of hours because we went in the afternoon, I think. We didn't go. No, we went in the late afternoon, early evening, but we had to be back for some reason. Can't remember why. But we had to be back because we needed an early night because we were getting up early the next day. But I can't remember why we were getting up early the next day because I can't remember what day we went on. So we were only there for a couple of hours, and then we got the train back and to Viejoesa. So the final clip I'm going to show you is a trip to the island of Tabarca, which is just off the coast of Alicante, so the south of Alicante, between Alicante and Santa Pola. And my parents, as I said earlier, my parents had a flat on the southern Costa Blanca for 20 years, and we went there loads, and I would always see these boat trips to island of Tabarca. My parents had never been, so I didn't know much about it. I was like, is it worth going? Is it not? But it seems to be very popular because there's all these boat trips to it. And then a few years ago, there was a TV program in the UK by a TV presenter called Alex Polizzi. If you live in the UK and you watch the Hotel Inspector, I think they're called, the Hotel Inspector series, she's the presenter for that. And she did a travel program, or like a travel series, going around Spain. And I didn't watch all of it, but I watched quite a bit of it. And she went to the island of Tabarca, and I thought that looks really interesting. So when we went to my parents, the last Simon and I both went to my parents' flat 2 years ago before they sold it, we went on the boat trip. I had looked on the map and worked out that Santa Paula seemed to be the best port to go from. I don't love going by boat because I am prone to seasickness, and it can get quite windy on that coastline. So, but you can get boats from, I think, most of the coastal towns from there. I've seen them from Torrevieja. I assume you can get it from Guadalmar del Segura, you can get it from Santa Pola, you can get it from Alicante, and apparently you can also get it from Benidorm. So there is a lot of choice, but Santa Pola is the port to go to if you want the least amount of time on the sea. In Santa Pola, on the main seafront area, there is basically like a row of huts from all these different companies selling boat trips to Tabarca. And there are like the standard slow boats, and there are the speed boats. And we went on the speedboat boat, and I can't remember how long it took, but I would guess maybe like 20 minutes. From Alicante, there's only one boat, and it had 2 sailings in the morning and then 2 coming back in the afternoon. Whereas from Santa Paula, there's a lot more choice. So and it takes about an hour. So we thought, well, we went and looked to see when the boats left when we went in a few days earlier for the Mascletas and the San Juan stuff. And I'm sure it said the first boat was at 9:45, and because we went on Tuesday last week, and the Spanish school holidays have started, from what I understand, I thought they'd probably be running more sailings, but we got there and they were running at 10:45, and we got there about 9, I think, because we were expecting it to go at 9:45, and we want to make sure we got there early enough so we could get tickets. So we had like quite a lot of time to spare, so we just walked across the road to the main seafront promenade in Alicante, and there was a coffee shop open, so we got some breakfast and then went and got our tickets. We sat on the top deck so we could enjoy the view, but we sat on the seaside rather than the land side, which was a bit of a mistake. But I filmed a bit as we left Alicante. It was a little bit rough. The sea was a bit kind of rocking and rolling. I didn't get seasick. I felt a little bit queasy when we left, but I usually do when I've been on the boat anyway. But it was a little bit rocking and rolling. On the island, there is a small village with some houses, old houses, and a couple of small restaurants and bars. And I think there was a shop there. And then where you actually land, there is which is kind of, I don't think it's in the middle of the island, but there's like a thin bit, and then the village is on that side, and then the rest of the island is on that side. And the rest of the island is a nature reserve. And where you land, if you just go straight across, there is a row of restaurants there. There is a beach there with sun lounges and things. And then you go to the village to the right, and then the rest of the island to the left. So because it was nearly midday by the time we got there, it was getting quite hot, so we decided, because we'd looked around the island last time we were there, we decided we would just go straight to find somewhere to go swimming. Now, if you're expecting beautiful sandy beaches, you're not going to get that at Tabarca. I don't know if it's because it's a nature reserve, but the beaches are very rocky, and getting into the water is quite challenging. And I really struggled last time, so I deliberately bought these cheap or old Skechers. They look a bit like Birkenstock type sandals, but they are made of, I think, some kind of foam covered in, I don't know, plastic, rubber, whatever. silicone. I don't know what it is, but they were kind of waterproof, and they're quite old. I actually thought I'd binned them last year. So I took those so I could wear those going into the water, and they made it better, but because they're a bit slippery when they get wet, they weren't ideal. But having some kind of bathing shoes would be a really good idea, I recommend, because it's really challenging to get into the water. Water there is beautiful. It was quite warm, but the beach that we were on is basically rocks, so you're lying on rocks. We put our towels down. I lied down for a few minutes, but I mainly sat up and knitted. Went for a swim. Simon went swimming a bit longer than I did. I got to be careful with swimming because it really hurts my neck. And then we had a walk around part of the island. We got there about 12. We got the boat back about 4. I think we got back to the main area where the harbour is about an hour before our boat left. So we found a restaurant that had a drink and ice cream, and it cost a drink. 2 drinks and ice cream cost us more than we pay for breakfast in Alicante. Prices there are extortionate, but the restaurants, there's several restaurants down by near the harbour, and they were absolutely packed. So people always used to come there and buy lunch. We'd actually brought a packed lunch because we're cheap. And then we got the boat back to Alicante, and that was much better. And we sat on the land side so we could see the kind of coastline going past. So I filmed a bit more going back. I didn't film a lot on the island, mainly because we didn't walk around that much of the island. I did film it 2 years ago, so we were there 2 years ago, and I did film more in that video. It is one of my podcast episode 53, and the Tabarca section is at the end of the video. I think it's like 3 minutes maybe at the end of the video. So if you are interested in seeing more from that island, I will link episode 53 at the end of this video and in the notes below. And if you don't want to watch the whole episode where I talk about what I'm knitting and stuff, what I was knitting 2 years ago, you can just skip forward towards the end of the video, and I think it's like the last 3, maybe 4 minutes. But yes, if you are thinking about going, if you're on holiday in this area, obviously if you're in Alicante, you can get the boat from Alicante. But if you want a faster boat and a bit more choice of departures and things, I think probably it's cheaper to go from Santa Pola because it's shorter and there's more choice. In Alicante, I think it was €23 each return, so it's not a cheap trip if you got like a whole family to pay for. It might be cheaper from Santa Pola because there is a lot more choice, and it's shorter. But if you're hiring a car, I would recommend going to Santa Pola. Also, I think parking there is free, especially if you arrive in the morning. There is some, but when we were there 2 years ago, there was free parking. So I do think Santa Pola is better if you have a hire car. We did not have a hire car, so we went from Alicante. If it had a hire car, we would have gone from Santa Pola. I think Santa Pola from the central Alicante is probably like 10 minutes, maybe 15. It's not very far at all. So that's what I would do if I was going again. Okay, that is it for this video. Thank you very much if you've stuck with me to the end. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you've been to any of these places, if you want to go. And I will be back on Thursday with a regular podcast episode where I will talk about what I was knitting for the last half of my holiday and what I've been knitting since I came home, some plans I got in future projects. I got some yarn that's arrived, and I got a new project on the needles, or on the hook rather, because it's a crochet project. And yeah, I got a lot of stuff to share, so it's going to be quite a bumper episode on Thursday. So I will see you then. Thank you for watching.